Hey guys, Boris here, bringing you another VOD review. And man, what an intense day 2 of Worlds it was. We have had underdogs proving everyone wrong, newcomers showing what they are made of, and some of the fan favorites crumbling under their pressure. Story arcs across the board, as well as historic day performance that might never repeat and that we are going to be drawing our attention today. First, let's simply check what our final lobby is going to be made of. Have to thank all these players that got eliminated during day 2. Some unfortunate scenes here as one of the fan favorites, an EMEA favorite, Double getting barely cut, not getting a chance to play in the final game. Robin Songs, YBY1 as well, some of the names that you could expect making the final lobby. But our final lobby here is going to be composed of Saya, Revan, Li Shao, Daisik, Elia, Darth Noob, Mori, and Bin Bin. Very nice for myself to see 3 EU representatives in the final lobby. It's going to be a great day, hopefully, for ourselves. But the performance we're going to be drawing our attention to, perhaps you might see in here, is Saya's day 2, where he went second, first, second, first. Putting up 4 firsts and 2 seconds is a performance that on a world scale that might never get repeated again. Therefore, let's jump in game and see one of these games, and perhaps we can learn something from them. So, we're going to be jumping in game here from the main broadcast perspective, as I believe these players in the China are not streaming their own perspectives, and finding their streams or broadcasters from West that are following them is quite hard, but we already focused here on Saya as everyone has picked up his incredible performance. We are starting out with opting to slot in the Slayer pair. A lot of players would be coding onto the Sona, playing into something like a Rise board. The Rise Freljord or the Masia board has been very prominent, has been winning quite some games. He opts not to hold on to the Sona at all. Perhaps he has a clear clip battle. Now, with the components we have, we do not have any AP direction, and this would more definitely be leaning into the Slayer's opener. Now, one would consider that at the moment he has such an immense point lead that he could also just simply be trying to play for safe for some placements, trying to pick the open line and move from there. Now, do not really have any quite clear direction from ourselves at the moment. This is definitely leading more into a Slayer. It's going to still be holding on to. And now for our the Sona. And now coming for our augment direction here, we have the option to be going with a Seraphim Staff if you opted to play into AP. However, since this is being an item augment on 2-1, you would want to be capitalizing on this. And we do not have any upgraded AP openers. We did not have the option to even unlock Oriana. Therefore would be falling quite out of favor. Even more so would be going the same with the Mace's Will. This is good if we had the crit item to make generally whenever you have your JG, your IE. This is quite decent. Could also be okay in the Slayer's comp before that, because the Ambusher is going to be provided. But again, items on 2-1, we would want to be making another Slam. We would have like something Hodge QSSS, but that would definitely lock us in the Slayers. And we do not have the upgrades. This is just a comp that definitely wants to be playing for upgrades. Therefore, surprisingly, Ixtal Expeditionist here seems the best option. Why surprisingly? Because in the current meta it has fallen out of favor a little bit, especially with the tempo increase and its cap being quite hard to access with all these melon rise boards flying all around the board. Heroic Grabbag would look us in a potential reroll direction, and same would go for Calculated Loss. He would be playing for some kind of reroll, but he's going to be jamming Ixtal Expeditionist. Now this is already telling us, alright, now this is probably why this guy was putting up so many wins. You're going to be playing for these high placement plays, and this, if you're playing, you're most likely trying to aim for a first. Coming up here, and we did get to make also Kiana 2 from that, which could potentially allow us to steamroll, and we have the option to making econ with all these units in our board, bench, sorry. Most likely option here would be picking for lose 4-player combats, and we would have to be trying to sacking this Kiana at some point. Rerolling 12 times is going to be too expensive, same with buying 24 XP. Therefore, let's see what Saya picks. I would assume it to be 4-player combats, and then we're going to be looking around the lobby, seeing what else. If we just check, we can see quite a few econ augments already. 2 players who have to be playing for quite high placements, picking that birthday reunion here. And as well as we have item tempo from Achi with the Spirit Visage augment, which is quite strong. Bin looking himself into some form, also a Freljord board with the lifting competition. Could also use that as a potential fuel for the LeBlanc reroll, but it's quite hard to navigate in that form of a sense. And the visage you gain as a cash out is not exactly the most useful of items. You can see hunching there, getting gold destiny into hefty rolls. Now that's one of the best options. That is simply going to outvalue something like the raining gold right here. Insane high roll. You can see Bin here locking themselves into the LeBlanc reroll. Pomda has been having incredible performance throughout the day, and definitely if they're going to be able to play from a tempo spot like this, just getting a pretty win, it's going to be quite useful for them. They have had to slam the Crown Guard for tempo, which is not the greatest of the slams you would be wanting in the later of the game. Now, for Saya has actually, yeah, he's going on a 2 loss streak, so I'd assume they picked the Lose quest, and we'll be checking in them later on. We can see Obu here with using that extra resources they gained from the extra gold to roll for a bard and hopefully be able to pick up some directions. He managed to pick up a Yasuo, so most likely going to be looking into the Ari reroll if they possibly can. So definitely going to be quite few 3-cost rerollers, so you can expect the lobby tempo to immensely spike around the second half of the stage 3. And the fast 9 boards will have to stabilize quite a bit on the stage 4 in order to not get simply stat checked by the upgraded units on the other side. Retreat here trying to put up a win streak of their own, getting that Bird Union Rek'Sai, which is one of the better ones you can get, especially since Rek'Sai is a melee carry that is extremely strong in the stage 2 with their ability to be able to access the backlines. So Saya here is going to opt to go for a chain. That is going to guarantee us a way to unlock this Karner as soon as we're able to make ourselves to level 7. Do not want to be gambling exactly on the components if you are going to be playing it safe. Now it does seem that he managed to win the last round, as we did have some of the players who are pretty much committing to the loss streak throwing almost open 4th, and that is not the greatest of points. Well, however, at the moment you're not exactly aiming for that Brock unlock. You are going to using the Ixtal as an extra bit of resources most likely and pivoting onto other boards. However, with Ixtal Expeditionist you do have the option to also aim for a potential Brock unlock if you manage to string together some good quests and hit it on tempo. As going for Brock, generally you're investing resources to bounce back from the cash out, but since the units that you will be cashing out generally are quite contested, you end up having to spend a lot of resources, and simply not investing so much in the cash out and taking few of your components is generally worth the price more. It's a more value, so to say. Now, Retri here stringing together a 5 streak of their own. Great spot to be playing for Brother Union and have the opportunity to be going fast 9 hopefully from there if they're able to just simply preserve a lot of HP. Also coming into the next stage would be in a prime position to do so. Now, Saya here has the opportunity to be able to get a Tiana 3. Now, they've won and he actually opted to go for a reroll quest, so this is an extremely interesting choice. Now, I was thinking that he went for the lost streak quest, but he simply opted to econ all the stage and then go for the Kiana tree. And maybe perhaps he's going to use that as his leverage to the next level. Now, that is a very interesting choice. Now, there is the Field the Kiana tree quest and the Kiana getting takedown quest, which likely like this would be enabling, but still, I have not seen this play at all myself. Now, therefore, we could also perhaps be taking the Ixtal champion dealing damage here. Fielding 2-star Nico, we haven't managed to pick up any Ecos on that level 5 reroll done. And buying a 68 will going to be too expensive, so probably have to be bouncing here from the Ixtal quest dealing damage. And we're able to simply move this blue buff, can also make the IE. Now, also why this would make sense is because Kiana is generally going to be your Brock item carrier. And she's simply, like, Vi can do that as well, but obviously a 3-star Kiana is going to be quite easy to do, and perhaps still interesting to know that how he managed to pick the quest, given that he only had a Kiana 2. Very interesting choice of how to be approaching this line. Now, capitalizing, probably going to be hoping that he's going to be able to capitalize on the tempo he has been establishing from this Kiana here in order to win out most of the stage 3 and then perhaps use the extra this quests in stage 4 are going to give you more shards, although being probably more riskier, and as such he could perhaps hoping to sack some of that stage 4. Now we're probably looking for some form of an econ augment generally in this case. Precision of Grace is generally going to be a melee comp augment, and well, it could be quite decent once you make it a final board. It's not going to be the case here. Crimea River also would, the upside would be able to complete an item, but I'm not exactly a fan of that either. And Pandora's Bench is something that maybe you consider as, yeah, is an econ option. He could be flipping for some of the forecast if he wanted to, but generally it's a reroll augment, right? And we have already hit our unexpected reroll. So if we're going to be holding on to it, some form of an econ, and now we find that we have Magic Roll, which is simply a more appealing option. The components would be maybe perhaps a little downside since so many cashouts provide components. However, they would be working great in our plan of stabilizing now around this 3-star Kiana, and that is what we would perhaps enable us to secure a tank for her. And let's see what his roll seems to give him, and he gets 4 bows. Now going to reroll one of them into another sword, so perhaps going to be slamming that Death Blade. For our Piltover module, most likely going to be going with the Caliber Nets to simply slow down the other boards. EMP would have been a fine choice as well if you're in caster heavy lobbies, but EMP is just simply bound to be more effective value if once it's procs. As long as obviously the carries do not have the stuns. Now the stuns the immunity. Now the jinxes have been making your QSSs and Titans, but other carries have not really been doing so. Therefore, great value there. Retri still being able to string together the streak. Now have the 3-item Rek'Sai, which is going to be an absolute menace with a Vanquisher in as well. Going to aggressively push level 7 here to get their Thieves' Gloves. Able to slam that on. Also evaluating their matchups constantly as debating if this push was necessary, but everything else on their board is not doing the particularly greatest. Now these 3-cost boards are slowly starting to come online. Thankfully Bin here is still on the LeBlanc one, and this is the power of the Rek'Sai. Once we can just get to backline and eliminate these fragile carries without worrying about this very beefed up Scion that's in front of her. So a prime spot for Retri here. Even if he loses out to the rest of the stage, he has the opportunity to fully be going to the fast 9 and hopefully able to hit a board 5 cost to be able to stabilize around on. Seeing how the rest of the lobby is doing, we seem that we have the more of a Lisha looking at more playing into a Yone with these kind of set of items. We have someone playing into some form of the Massive. They've got another Rage Blade slammed across the board. Hunching here, most likely going for that Zoe, Leon, and Malzahar reroll. And Obu, I'm not exactly sure what he might be playing into as well. He has the Nasher JG slammed. Now, was going to be priming that Mel unlock with sacrificing this Ambessa. However, we do not exactly have the most of the Mel items. With these slams, trying to preserve as much HP as he can. It's going to be interesting how he manages to apprise this line. And yeah, Heinzig locking in that Leon as Malzahar Zoe. And Bin could be playing, yeah, he's most likely playing into some form of a Rise, Volibear type of board. Now this is the Hunching's quest, most likely is going to be going for a little juice, so let's quickly check what his options he has. He probably has to pick the pre-roll quest here. He'll also go for the 30 cash, simply getting a 200 cash out here for the next turn, but as a little bit extra resources, and we are still level 6, but we had the option to go for level 7, therefore most likely going to go for the reroll there, use that Bard free reroll. Saya here, now has managed to string together a little bit of better item economy, have gotten some healing. These items are generally going to be able to transition on the Brock, and with the GS being quite flex. Also have a backline carry pretty much sorted out as long as with the blue buff and a red buff. Some form of a Seraphine can greatly use these, or even Mel if we're able to get there. But we have extremely heavily invested our resources now. Unfortunately, our streak got broke, so it seems that we've leveled very aggressively here on to go on 3-5 to go for that streak, wanting to win out the stage. But now we are 9 gold, 7 on 36 since we took that loss, and it might have been the Retri, since Retri is still 100 streaking on this board here. And going to be interesting how he manages to fare against it, but what Retri ends up converting to. But like the first day we saw Asian Iverson also go on the 10 streak, but not having any kind of clear direction, and this Rek'Sai is not providing you too much direction. Obviously we're playing into some form of a Slayer board, but that is not going to be new games. And currently, if we check the point standings here, he wants to be getting... He wants to be in this position to get some a little bit of extra point if he can, to be more safe. Now Obo's roll down here, or picks up the the Mel pair, has found a Garen 2, also an Ambessa 2. Still a very hard turn since he has to slam all these items. It was interesting to see what he wanted to transition to, but simply does not really have the goal to be playing for this kind of a board from the 10 streak. However, opting to roll on 4-1 has paid his dividends, and he has been able to stabilize before everyone else grabs out their 4 costs. On to the last augment here. I believe this is still the Obu spot. Let's just make sure. And it is. Now at this point he's looking for something that's going to simply allow him to be extremely strong this stage. He is on 1 life, and something like a combat augment is going to be greatly powerful here, especially since we have managed to find some of our upgrades already. Therefore, something like Giant Mighty, he seemed more appealing here, able to stall for that Mel. Belt Overflow, we have a lot of items. I think his cash out was the items, and I think we frontline is somewhat sorted right now, and otherwise I'm not too hot on this augment myself either. Tiny but Deadly is more of a melee comp augment that you would be considering here. And we are going to be clicking away as Saya has picked up a Call to Chaos and has managed to bounce back his econ from the Call to Chaos. This guy just taking all the gambit possibilities out, playing that extremely flippy game, still on the spot when he is 70 points. Everyone in the lobby is, except one person, is in their 50s and 40s. He still doesn't care. He's just going to be showing the dominance, how he's able to meticulously navigate this insane game of TFT. Hobo here has opted to also go for the Call to Chaos on their own and has gotten the backline goal on, which is going to be quite nice at the moment, since the compartment that we're lacking a little bit is this damage side of things. Now we did not have the frontline items exactly sorted out, so actually bet over for mine would have been worse, but simply people believe the augment to be so understated that they do not opt to do so. Now Saya we can see that Saya, since he managed to secure that HP lead still during the stage 3 despite taking that loss, he won a couple of rounds on stage 2. And as such, he's now able to pretty much play some form of a okay board to be able to hopefully make their way to level 9. And we can see a golden egg there as well. Is that a Call to Chaos golden egg? It seems so. Checking the prismatic augments here. It looks like it's definitely the Call to Chaos golden egg. Something that you do not want to be seeing if you are in a spot of desperation to be taking Call to Chaos. However, it obviously does provide you with a win-out potential, but actually here might be in a very tight spot. From that, Hanxing here going for that roll down still seems to be quite far away and a little bit low on gold, and they need to be spiking now if they want to be trying to play for a top 4, as this Leona comp is going to be outscaled now. Actually not the furthest, since they have a couple of dupes. Seems that their cash out was dupes, which is prime for them. Playing into the Saya here, so yeah, simply still level 7, reading all the gold, perhaps fishing for a potential buy XP quest. And yeah, he's actually going for that Brock cash out, going for the 500 cash out, fully enabled from identifying the first quest that we can. Okay, well, we don't exactly be having to play into this lost streak plan, and we can reroll on this. Kiana tree is going to be carrying us all the way through here. Now has completed and is already at 645. It seems he had picked up a lose streak quest, which obviously this was this is why if you have the HP lead, everyone on stage 4 has to be playing strong boards, and you could just be running this, which is resembling more of a stage 3 board. Now we have the Brock on lock. Are we going to be pushing more? Nico surviving here is going to be very hard with this. And dealing 4,500 damage with this board might be a little bit of a sketchy thing since, well, we do not exactly have the resemblance of a frontline. And Brock surviving 5-player combats, which is full gamble. I believe he could go for a cash out here. So we're going to be going for a cash out. Get a couple of Radiants, and not exactly the Radiants you might be looking for. We'll be considering reforging them. Yes, we are. Still not Yakin QS's Visage now. Radiant Hodge is something that definitely is going to be quite strong with the IE that we have right now. Also going to be tossing on the BT since it's a Brock one, but making him keep alive. And just the Last Whisper on the Bard, so he expressed that a little bit for ourselves. Could later on perhaps consider transitioning that Last Whisper onto the Brock, as he has that board-wide attack. And we're still like insanely rich. We have level 8, 141 golds due to that call to chaos, providing with a gold influx. So he definitely was considering out that buy XP quest and perhaps sending it fast 9. He's go on the way to 9. As he hit that buy XP quest, unfortunately didn't come the turn before. But could he be going fast 10 from this slot? Now we have that Ixtal healing still, and we are still quite healthy at 38 lives. We're going to be 40 next turn, and that's going to put us at least at 2 lives if we wanted to go 10 on the next turn. But simply, the question is, would we have enough raw gold to be hitting our upgrades, as we still had to quit quite a lot of our board. Red Tree here has opted to transition into some form of a void board of their own. Also has that golden dupes over there. Baron 2 is immediate if they're able to get it to level 10. So hopefully, with the opted to roll down there on level 9 to stabilize their board and hopefully secure something like a 5-5 level 10. Achi here still sitting on their golden egg into a Kaisa 1 Scar and Wayne 1 now. Yeah, this Call to Chaos seems to have completely ruined their game, and yeah, Kaisa 1, you're not going to be winning these fights, unfortunately. Going to be taking a loss. Not sure what's going to be transitioning into Kaisa 2 online now, but it's too little too late. You're on 1 life, not close to cashing out. Saya here opted, yes, to go to level 10, going for that roll down. Now we can see that our raw gold situation is quite tight. We're not even the Brock pair here, but finally able to put some together, some form of resembling frontline. Going to be trapping that Nico with a Azir soldier so that the Nidalee can survive for as long as possible. We're transitioning back to Achi, as we're probably going to be paying some attention to these players losing. But this Yona is going to be simply fasting on our front line. The set is going to be coming in, but it's not enough. They do not have the backline carry yet. The RE2 is going to be able to get you to level 9, but not exactly securing wins for you. So some last hopes, avoiding 8 from Achi, but Obo. Now, Red Tree here has their 2-star Baron. Now, this is going to be a bigger contest for the Saya here. Do not have that IE exactly, which is what fully enables this Baron to perform extremely well. That IE Sterak's Gauge combo gaining some survivability and the immense amount of damage coming out from it. And now our backline is we have an AP Kaisa with a double attack speed item, which is not the strongest of the form, but obviously the 2-star Baron is going to be sufficient. But we can see it seems that Saya, Saya has taken out Achi as we transition in the last second. Now our board situation here, Bin is still on that Volibear, some form of disruptor board, but simply going to get pushed out. Still seem to be on level 8. Li Shao playing around, yeah, the Yona, the level 8 type of Ionia board. Seems that they had to roll quite heavily on level 8 to be able to stabilize this board, so not exactly sure what they're going to be converting into. And Binman here has managed to pick up a Volibear turtle, but still having to carry that Scion too. Not exactly what you're looking for, but so many Wukongs just seem to be out that since the Scion has been stacking from the very start, you have to be. These players are going to be facing each other, so we're going to be bound to lose the one. But this Volibear 2 is absolute menace, is able to chunk through the front line, and this is the issue with the vertical Ionia in this patch, that simply not able to win out unless you are having that RE3 as a duo carry. The Yona 2 with just an RE2 is not there, and hopefully was perhaps hoping that he would be able to hit quite early, since it seemed to be an uncontested line and make it to level 9 and transition also those 5 costs, but was unable to do so. Now been facing the Baron, so it's probably a needed death for him as well, and Royal here going up against a Malzahar Zoe reroll board, but it seems to be the Ghost. However, this Leona is just still be able to stall through. Has that declaw to be fully preventing that Lissandra Rise backline, and with the Rise 1, you're simply not and with the positioning on the side so that the enemy carries do not get their Yorl debuff done right away. They're going to be taken out of it. We're just going against Retri and Saya, so it seems to have been a double kill. The Ghost taking out the player, but dying themselves. And Saya here still on that win streak since he has managed to pick up. And now we're going to also unlocking a Silas having picked up the carry now that they're all back in the pool. We still have a lot of gold, has managed to manage his econ quite well to now be able to transition for a full roll down with the extra lives we have. Still have quite a few actions to making this turn, have the transition items, and we're still with items down, but hey, if we're going to lose, it's not the worst thing at the moment. Having that blue buff Gunblade Silas, not the greatest of the combos, but we simply have so much value on our board that we're able to take Retri down from 20 HP. Let's just quickly look at that fight again. So we have our Brocken with double healing. We have the Silas there as able to simply stun the Kai'Sa right away with a jump, I believe. I believe that should be in range. So Baron's obviously CC immune, but we have the tank in front of the Baron as well to stall, and we have the Zillion fully concentrating this damage on this Saya, on this Baron's side, and simply just have so many stats, so many carries, so many 5 costs, and all the item advantage that we had, and still had the potential to grow from there. And Retri did not seem to have that extra amount of gold necessary to transition fully into some form of a 6 void board. Now we can see they could not chase the Volibear as it was contested. Still on Shyvana 1 there, and there is a Fiddlesticks too that is positioned nicely for them, but Brock is also CC immune, so it's only stalling a little bit of that Zillion there. Simply did not seem to have the sufficient amount of gold to be fully transitioning. Also Swain 1, so not much else going on their board even from there, which is the risky play sometimes when you go for Baron. But Saya recognizing the correct quest to be taking on 2-1, playing for that crazy stabilization on stage 3, and then leveraging the HP lead, they had to be accumulating as many sound charges as possible on the stage 4 to go for this win out play and absolutely stampeding the lobby from there. This is why practice makes perfect. This is why spot recognition is so extremely important in TFT, to be knowing how to approach these lines from many different angles and what is going to be the best case to do so in each of the metas. Best of luck to him in the final lobby, and I hope that you learned something new, because I definitely did, and I wish to see you in the next one. Have a good one.